80 degrees in the courtroom. We're all dying. Yes, but it's 125 degrees up here. No, it's not that bad. Being a baby, still early in the morning, but a lot of people complaining that they don't have AC. It's like, I understand you're in a suit and you should be in a bathing suit, but that's not my problem. But it is my problem. So I got to fix this unit, see what's going on with it. Not a big fan. Not a big fan, but get under the skirt here. She is dead. Was she dead or just sleeping? These filters. Yeah, all right. All right. Way too good, actually. No, I'm just kidding. This unit doesn't need to run all the time, and those filters were recently changed. So I know this little guy's been running because I saw it running just recently. What's wrong with you? Tell me all your secrets. Okay. The map of secrets. When you get handwritten stuff on a unit, you know somebody's been here pulling their fucking hair out. Yeah, that's what I like. Give me something to think about. A problem to solve. Do I like problems? No, but I love the feeling of solving them. Maybe that's the addiction of being a tech. Never quite been able to figure it out. Well, she's lit up like a Christmas tree. Some of y'all probably screaming at me what this means. I don't know. Gotta be a legend somewhere, but she's flashing a code. Okay, it looks binary. 1248. 16 is not on, and this one right here is just flashing. So I haven't looked at the table, but this maybe means error, or it's flashing the same number as this is indicating. So that's 3, 7 plus 8, 15. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7? I don't know. Okay. So, 7 flashes, so they don't care about the 8, apparently, because this is the only one on, and it does correspond to 7 flashes, FS1 compressor lockout. That could be a low pressure switch. I wonder what that is. But this note up here is in relation to this. Who did what? Low ambient control. Somebody take this out maybe? But it's not even cold yet. Might be dealing with the pressure switch. Let me see what we got. To do this, I like shoving my ground in a good place. Sticking that probe in the best place. And use these needles to get to the side of your spade. Don't take these spades off. Don't mess with that, because if you've got corrosion, you take it off and take a measurement and put it back on. You just fixed the problem, and now you don't know you fixed it. So that switch is closed, and that is the suction. So if she was out of refrigerant, like totally out, this would be open. Let's check the other one. Now here I am on the other circuit, and I'm going to be checking low pressure with the high pressure switch. Why would I do that? Because it's not running. So it just doesn't matter. Let's see, getting underneath there. On that chart, it says FS1. And this is the only FS1 I see. So there's that. And a low ambient switch. Okay. Now what I was talking about before, this is probably all a bus. And this will be a pin on the board, that'll be a pin, that'll be a pin. This could still be a pin, but all these are probably tied together somewhere, because board doesn't need to see ground. What your board needs to see is if this is closed to ground, it's going to pull down the voltage that the board is sending out, because there's a resistor on the board, and then there's the voltage generator, which is going to be a chip. Put that voltage through a resistor and then connect it to ground. What's your voltage right here? 0. So it's looking, are you closed, are you open? Are you closed, 0 volts? Are you open, 5 volts? And this, which I don't have in my table, but I do have that, says low evap temp. So that's going to be probably a freeze stat in the blower cabinet. Could the blower wheel be down? Yes, it could. The blower motor could be down. Let's check that out. Called it. Yay. Heck yeah. Isn't that a great feeling? You like make a prediction, open a cabinet. Boom. Can you hear that? And you can probably see it, but it's moving so fast it just looks like it's still. There's the belt down in there. I don't know. Sounds smooth, sounds great. I'll throw the belt on there, give it an adjustment, slap it on the butt. This thing's probably gonna run like a champ. Look, Mom, no gloves. That's dumb. Don't ever do that. Ever touch a motor like this. Why'd I get comfortable with these motors? Probably because I'm working around ones that are, I don't know, 10, 15 times the size to rip your arm off. But you know, you can't be complacent. Some of the most dangerous things I've ever had happen were in residential. My God, trying to get to people's units, doing yoga in a 125-degree attic to go over fucking dead cats and all kinds of wood and Christmas shit and blown insulation to try to get to a unit. That is so dangerous. Public service announcement: if you have a unit in an attic or a crawl space, it's your job to make that accessible for the tech. That is not the tech's job to suffer like a fucking coal miner down there trying to get to your unit. So anyways, rant ended. Let's get the belt on. Oh shit. They're gonna be so mad. God. Can y'all see that? That's why the belt bit the dust, because the bearing that's inside of that just poof. Okay, I need to pull this out as fast as possible. I need to head over to a local supply house and see if they can whip me up a bearing. We're going to try to fix this, not MacGyver style. That implies that I'm like doing something hackish. I'm trying to fix it without OEM parts, and that can be done. Local supply houses are really helpful. McMaster Car or Granger overnight shipping. We could do it that way too. Thank you, God, for putting this blower assembly on a sled. Yeah! Just gotta take out some screws and pull the little baby out so I can get to the whole thing. God, why did you make me too dumb to figure out this sled? So here, this is all part of the base. Yes. Where are you being held in at? I can't pull it out. Now, it could just be, you know, very crusty, but there's always screws. Oh, yes. Thank you, Jesus. But now I feel even dumber. It's just that right there, and we're missing a few, so I might put those back in, but man, once this thing sits, it's pretty sturdy. There's not a lot of slop on these at all. This one runs all the way back. Yes, I do need more than you're gonna give me. No, I do not want to smash my toes. These are steel toes. You know, even in residential, watch your toes. Okay, I'm gonna go out a little farther. Let's take a closer look at this. Yeah, that's way too much slop and way too loose of a hole. That's never works out. Okay. So, I don't mess with everything. You know, this could be a label with numbers on it. It just bothers my OCD. Need tools. This is pretty rusty. Now, don't go trying to pull this over top of this rust. We need to clean this thing up. Some stuff I need is at the house. Daggone it. You know, we could try the little roofing hand. You know, that little palm nailer. Try that. So get this off, and then I've got to loosen up the shaft so that the whole thing comes out. Now, this looks like it's tight in here, but it's not really. This should just pop right out. You know, it's centered with this, and we don't know what happened. I mean, it could have been the bearing that let loose, and probably was, but if you had this fail, that rubber, and you can see where it's cracked, and it let loose, it would allow the bearing just to go crazy until maybe it flies apart. You know, we don't know. What we need is a GoPro in one of these. I want to see that action live. Now it's hotter than Satan's butthole out here, so I got the fan. This is pretty cool, actually. I should stop and talk about this for a second. So what it is something that activates these from outside so that I can have this closed, because a lot of times I'm working on top of it and I don't want to open this and have all my parts fall. I just want to get a drawer, but I still want it locking. See what I'm saying? Aha! Oh, I'm lucky I had that. I have not been putting stuff back. Shit. Where are my where are the air chisels I use for that thing? You know, I tried this last time, just put this in there, and that way I can put a socket on there. That's exactly the right size. Works a little better because it's not pointed. It can't like jump off the shaft and dick up the side, because if you dick the side up, it's going to hit. So I think, yeah, let's just use a socket. It may not hit as hard because we have linkages, but she's a hard-hitting little mofo. We just need to clean that shaft up. Grinders at the house. More than one way to skin a cat. Always more than one way. Semi-truck. Pocket knife. No, that's so bad. I'm actually a huge cat person. They're clean, introverted, don't really complain, never raise, they never use outside voices inside. Never. Soft and furry. Let's see here. Yeah, we could hit it with that for sure. Now this I use for punching holes in refrigerant jugs after they're done. I just hit it right on that pressure release, go through it, and that's something you should do, is punch a hole in them, but just be careful, man. It's surprisingly hard to go through that thing. All right, let me get what we need. Looking for this. That's going to work great on an impact, not as good as the grinder in this. So it's nice to knock the loose rust off first, so your sand cloth can actually get to what it needs to get to. This doesn't remove a lot. This gets rid of the loose stuff. This gets rid of the stubborn stuff. Grabbing this penetrating oil after I grab this persuader. Now people freak out. That's not penetrating. I agree. It's not the best lubricant either. It's a great cleaner. Great cleaner for rust. And listen, if a hole's too tight, you're just not going to get any lube in there. You needed lube in the first place. And this doesn't stink. We're in a blower cabinet. Remember, you really want to be spraying Croil all over a blower cabinet? No, you don't. You might have worked on one where you did that, but you didn't have to live in the space afterward. So that's just my preference. But hey, you know, if you need Croil, you need it. I get it. I do get it. And most of the smartest mechanics swear by penetrating oil. So I agree. I agree with you, but we're not doing that today. Sockets, big old battery. By the way, if you don't know, shit, where's my batteries? So a 12 volt is not a 12 volt. Your little ones and your big ones, yeah, they're the same nominal voltage, but the problem is the voltage drop when you're using the tool. So when you're using a little one, it may be operating at 9 volts under load, something like that. When you're using a big one, it could be operating at like, 10.5 or something like that. So yeah, you are actually getting a more powerful tool. It's not just longer runtime. So keep that in mind. Found it. Threw my sweaty shirt in the dryer. Now I'm looking for a socket that'll work. I like that little guy right there. Yeah. You know how you dry your ass off with the towel? That's exactly what we're gonna do here. Just 2 hands, back and forth, back and forth. Well, that's a clean shaft ready for de-insertion. But I thought it was supposed to be clean first. Yes, it was. But it should have been greased. We're gonna put some grease on this. Yeah, it can make stuff slip. So, I wouldn't put grease in these threads. Like, this probably, it does, there's not force trying to push this out. We're gonna grease this little guy. We're gonna grease the pole, not the hole. And we're just gonna put it on there. And this won't be a problem again, but yeah, it's a problem now. And to be fair, if you're not in like saltwater environment, or if this was a pool unit, man, I might be cutting that off with the Sawzall and just getting another shaft. For you younger guys, this was real tight. I like to hit it or push like this. Don't ever push a hex wrench like this, because when this slips, and it will, you're gonna punch the crap out of this flywheel. Don't ever push a ratchet or anything with a closed fist. Always open palm, because if that slips, that feels way better than that. Okay, so we're loose now. Probably can't get this out, but doesn't matter. I'm just gonna try to loosen it up with a hammer, okay? I love this set. Link in the description. There's a lot of links down there. Check that out. Follow me on Discord, Patreon, all that good stuff. Any video I reference, link will be in the description. Anyways, like and subscribe too, man. Just help me out. We don't make a lot off these videos, not unless you're going full clickbait. And I just don't want to sell my soul to the corporate gods. God, they demand so much humiliation. They love humiliation. God, they love it. They must be a dominatrix or something. Is that who we got running the country? Who we really got? I'm saying all these men are running the country, but they love the humiliation. Yeah, she's crusty. Let me get her out. I could show this and make it look like it works, but I'll be honest, no air hammer required. However, this hammer is too big to pop that shaft through that. And that's where the air hammer comes in, because it's just a little baby guy that's gonna pound that thing straight through the hole. It's real hard, even if you have a narrow hammer, because I've tried it, to hit this through the hole, and a lot of times you end up hitting the hole and dicking that up. So I talked about dicking this up. If you dick that up, sometimes not even sandcloth will take that off, and then you're using a burr and all that stuff. So let's do it. filming stuff at the house, man. I tried to clean things up, and I don't know where half my stuff is now. It's just a mess. Any of you all work with less tools just to make it like more thought-provoking? Camera mount. Okay, let me show you the beauty of this air hammer now. This side's going to come out no problem, but we want to look at this because the other side, we need to get these out to get the shaft off, because I'd like to do that other bearing too. Of course, we're going to take those out. Love that everything is uniform on HVAC. What? I didn't do that on purpose. I really thought these were 3/8. Maybe they're half. Oh man, that was dumb. But 5/16. Yeah, it's just nice. Unlike automotive, but you know, thankfully a lot of the like Asian manufacturers have done 8, 10, and 12 for most stuff under the hood. It's kind of the same here. It's 1/2 inch, which is great. You know, a bigger blower like this, actually, you know, 3/8 would be pushing it. Get this off. What? Is that not a rivet nut? You little bastard. That's not captive. You kidding me? But you know what? I do have room to reach in here, and they put it on a sled, so I think it'll be okay. Now, why would they not use a rivet nut? Because if that thing could, you know, it could spin, and then it's real hard to deal with, but that's what this fastener back here is doing anyways. So now I got to try to weasel something back in here because my fingers aren't manly enough to hold that little nut. Yeah. I'm gonna try the impact. Now, the reason, and this is obvious to me, you know, I'm not trying to bore you with details, but see what an impact is doing. This is just slow torque, okay? If you watch an impact in slow motion, it's hammering and this stops. It stops in time, moves again, stops in time. So what is that doing? Well, the back, that nut regains its momentum. So when it stops, it wants to stay stopped. It doesn't want to rotate again. So it'd be easier to hold on to, except if my impact starts spinning, it's going to be rough on the old fingers. But that's why I try to thicken my gloves anytime I get a chance. You know what I'm saying? You know, sanding them down, cutting them on stuff. Got to toughen up those gloves. Let's get the nuts out. My cousin told me I should explain things more, and I agree. You know, sometimes things make sense in my head, and I just give the summary. I don't go through the steps. I don't show the steps of the calculation. The thing is, like, there's so many brilliant people on the channel that, like, I'm saying stuff that a lot of them know, but then I remember when I was a younger tech and I didn't know crap. I didn't know anything. I didn't even know how to keep this in an impact. And it can be difficult when somebody, you know, your mentor comes up here and just like rips everything off, and you're like, wait a second, like, why did you use this? Why did you use that? So we're going through a little more today. Let me know if you like that kind of format, and I can keep it going if I got time. All right, I wanted to get this off, but I should have left it, and that may be why they just put captive nuts on there, because technically I can pull this out without even touching these. I just need to take that back bearing off, loosen those. So yeah, and did I see that before I started dicking around with it? Not really. If I'd slowed down, I'd have thought about it. It's not like I haven't done these before. but I'm not doing them every day, right? So I already dropped one of those nuts down in there. That's a bummer. But like this one, I couldn't even reach up and get. I don't like working around stuff. I'm not a mechanic. One of the things that irritates me the most, and this isn't bad. This is great, even though it is nasty. Is when you're working over here and you're all sweaty and the wind blows one of these doors and like smacks you right in the face. So do what you gotta do. Slow down to work faster or to not be burnt out. Work slower to not be burnt out. You know, prop the door, zip tie it through that hole, take it off. Do whatever you gotta do to, you know, cut down those annoyances, and it can help you last longer out in the heat and whatnot. Let's get this bearing out of here. I mean, it should pull pretty, besides the blower wheel. I mean, and this is, yeah, that's not too bad. Now, sometimes with these, what they are, and I'll try to show it, they're not centered. So you're actually gonna hammer that collar in a direction so it locks up and then tighten these, and that's probably what that is. So I did bring the punch up here and we'll mess around with that. But yeah, there's no screw in here, and it looks like there's one in here. So that's what it is. I gotta hit this the opposite way of it, how it tightens up, and minus the rust, it should just come right off there. I can't get this thing to budge either way. So I'm gonna spray penetrating oil in this hole. See how that is the best place to treat it. This doesn't always happen, but sometimes it can wick around inside the entire thing. So we're gonna do that. So this is where I took the hex, little hex fastener out, and then this is where I'm hitting it either way. And I'm pretty sure these loosen that way, and I don't even know, but old mechanics trick, like you can tighten something to break it free. Believe it or not, just it's about like shaking the rust loose and all that kind of stuff. So you think, oh, I just need to turn this the right way. Not necessarily just, try to work it however it'll work. Can be much better than just trying one way. But now I'm gonna grab this with a pipe wrench, although I need another one. This is just what I had in my bag. I need a big one. But these things are nice. I like these. I like these. They're affordable. Man, they do grip. And then I'm going to use the leverage of the blower wheel itself with my hand just to try to make this thing rock. I'm going to, do what I can, because it's just not getting it with the hammer and punch, trying to get it to rotate. I wish I could have caught this on hammer, but I've been beating on this thing with the hammer. I put this right up to it, and it moved immediately. You can see it, where that's freshly exposed. I didn't get it to rotate, but I got it to move. I hit that thing with the punch. Let's see, that's how hard I hit it with the punch to try to get it to move. And honestly, it was kind of dumb hitting it there, of course, if we were gonna reuse this, because I'd have to put that hex key back in there, but this is trash. You got to watch out with pullers and stuff, especially on fan hubs. You throw a puller on here and your set screw hits this, then you're getting a tap out. You can still save it, but got to get it to move, and then I'm going to get it to go off. But this air hammer, it's hard to film. It just is. It's noisy, but man, that thing works good. All right, I'll loosen these up. Got the shaft moving this way. Now I'm just going to throw a puller on this and be done with it. The air hammer was able to budge it this way, but I can't get it to go that way. So forget it. Easy peasy. Quick tip here, keep a socket with an attachment with your puller. I can't tell you how much time that saves. That's a lot of threads to take in and out. God, look at that sexiness. Look at those sexy legs gripping that shaft. Those are lip to the grip, and you want that, right? Because you want, this is a hard pull, right? If you don't have this cage, which is their proprietary thing, God, I love these, but they're so expensive. One of the guys on Discord, one of my good buddies, he's brilliant, had a really good tip for getting stuff on eBay, and this is where I got this, and I got a great deal on it. But you know, you gotta keep looking. But anyways, in answer to my own question, do I ever do things with less tools to make things more challenging? It feels like all I'm doing lately, but you know, I'm a glutton for the sexiness. Sexiness. There's something about it. This job's hard enough. Like, I just want to touch something that feels great. Okay, let's pull it. It's not a big deal. I'm not even going to show it. This thing will zip it right off. See, whenever you got a fine thread, it's like, true, that could fail, but it's not going to fail. What you're doing is you're creating more distance. So it's like a longer ramp. Longer, less steep ramp equals more pulling force. Remember that. Yeah, and look at the way she gripped that rubber. Tight. Came right off. Now, I should have sanded that shaft, but I got so much confidence in this baby, I didn't even touch it. Now, it's a little much for that 12 volt to take off. It's just slower because it hammers a lot more than the 18 and not as hard, but straight off, I mean, it really wasn't an issue. But as soon as I started pulling backwards this way, it was real hard. And it started the second it got back in position. So I don't think it was this rust. There was something, whatever. It's off now. Here's what I'm talking about. See how that looks like it was machined wrong? It's not. These just lock onto each other like this. Well, I gotta hold that, but you know what I'm saying. Actually, no, it's not that. It's the shaft fits perfect, and then this, it locks the shaft. Whatever. Okay, so, you know, it's not this, although the other one is torched, but, so it looks like the bearing failed first. Chewed that up. Now, am I going to be rough with this or throw it away? No. I might have to reuse it. Believe it or not. Until we can get our new one in the mail. But the bearing, I should be able to source this. Now, they all just have regular numbers on them. And they can have different letters and crap to designate, you know, seals and all that kind of stuff. But can I find something like this locally? Probably. Probably where I'm at. All right, let's try it. All right, gonna change out of the jungle version of myself so that I can be civil. Go into the supply house and look for this. Like that. I'm back with some new bearings. Overcast, but still toasty. So after I make a banana hammock out of this, I'll show you what it's for. I can explain this lock much better with the clean bearings. So look at this. See how everything lines up? Now if I were to turn this, you see how it doesn't line up? That pushing this way of the collar and pushing that way of the bearing is what locks the shaft, okay? So that's how these work. So first I'm going to hit it with this to tighten it on there. And just a little tip, especially on a new one and especially on a new shaft or when you're going in a different place, run it down, tighten it as tight as you can get it, untighten it and tighten it back, and you'll see that you'll go an extra quarter, sometimes half turn.
And what you're really doing there is compressing that shaft. So you just got to make sure you compress it all the way. You're also stretching the hex fastener a little bit, so keep that in mind.
I got the rubber in there. Now, the big advantage of these bearings is they go on super simple. Oh, I'll say that. I might have to sand this. Somebody else dicked it up. Yeah, I'm having to sand off quite a bit of metal. Like you can see, that looks like a flat spot, but I think it's actually kind of deformed. Now, this is such a simple tip, but I'll never forget the day I learned it from this old remodeler. He was like, listen, here everybody is trying to save every scrap of everything. But, you know, if you're cutting out carpet or something, change your blade every 10 minutes. And I thought to myself, man, because here I was using the same blade for like, you know, 1 or 2 days in a row when it needed to be changed in, you know, 10 minutes. Same is true with sandcloth. Now, don't be wasteful. I you know, I don't like that personally. I'm not advocating that, but fresh blades, fresh sandcloth, just doing stuff like that, especially when you're not paying for it, right? It's just worth it. So, because now what happens is your sandcloth will look okay, but just try this if you haven't. Feel that and then feel that. What happens is the cutting points on the sand goes away, even if it's not looking like that. See what I'm saying? So this could be 120 grit, and this is more like 300 grit, and it doesn't even look that bad, but you can feel it, okay? Same is true of Sawzall blades and all kinds of stuff like that. All right, another tip. Now this is starting to fit on here now, and when I was younger, I'd have just forced it, okay? And the problem with that is you can get right here and get really stuck, and then you're looking for a socket this size or some kind of pipe or something to beat it the rest of the way. So when you're using your sandcloth, and you know, just like you're drawing your ass, like I said, you're going to create a bunch of scratches like this. And so when you go to fit your bearing, I hope you can see that in camera. You're going to see where you're hitting. So I'm hitting there because I'm getting polishing marks as it is rounding out some of those little bitty ridges. Another advantage of using sharp sandpaper is to create these ridges that leave marks. And look at that, I'm getting a scrape right there. Okay, so I'm gonna put this upright, sand it some more. Right, now instead of forcing it, you just ease in. Yes, see that? So much better. Got to thinking about this. I am gonna put this trash one back here because the way I reason, and this may not technically be true, you know, when you really think about the physics of it, but this side over here might take a little more abuse because it's on the motor side. However, I also would prefer this side to fail if it did fail, because it's on that side and the coil is on that side. So I really don't want her puking her guts into that coil, right? So we're gonna use this compromised one. I obviously cannot find these locally. If any of you all know how to source these, let me know. There are numbers on them, but they're not the same. One's like 02, one's 12. There's nothing else on it. Can't get this one either. That's no surprise. A lot of times in commercial, you gotta use a puller even if you don't have to. And it's real close to the range. But those lips still grip. All right. Yeah, buddy. Now I'm gonna show this one. Let's see what we got here. You can see her coming off. That's about, you know, what you should expect. If you're wondering about this right here, it's just leather. I'm going to cut a strip and use a punch to pack it up in there. And I do believe that will be tight enough to get this thing going. I was doing that and the old muse was speaking to me. So I had this idea. And you know, to be honest, this will probably work for most of you guys in this situation where something happens, you need one of these and don't have it, because man, that's real close, and most of them I've seen are about this size. So I cut it at an angle so that it can go in there and it seems like it's gonna fit tight. Now the best thing about this is that I've got lots of extra for another banana hammock. Any of y'all want to win that? Drop me a comment. All right, I sanded those teeth down just a hair, and that thing fits in there beautifully. Tapped it in with this, and I'll push this up in there. Yes. But yeah, is that gonna hold? Absolutely. Because remember, all of this is being held together by that other end as well. So I'm not worried about that in the least. Got this all lined up now. Now you can use any random piece of trash to make an alignment, or you can do it a lot fancier, like, you know, some ways I've shown with lasers and stuff. But you just want to, you know, sight your piece. You can even use wood, just sight it. And just make sure you're straight enough to do that alignment. You know, it's time to start cleaning up when you're losing stuff. Do as I say and not as I do. Because I'm always losing stuff. But like I said before, if you got to slow down to go faster, do that. Sometimes when you're on a project, if it gets too messy, just stop, do a midway cleanup, put away stuff that you no longer need, you know, and it can just help your workflow. I committed the sin of a lifetime. Took this out of the flywheel, which is fine, and something I probably shouldn't do, but sometimes I just do it so that I can. Why do I do that? I just feel sometimes as I loosen it, you know, getting kicked around and stuff, this could fall out. But I think it went through that hole, because I just assumed it could go nowhere in this tray, but it has gone somewhere. Well, I had an avalanche, but I survived. Hey, check this out. This was given to me by my dad as a kid. K-bar. Look at that. What a solid knife. Anyways, still got it after all these years. And found it. This. Okay, I bet you something in there will work. God has smiled upon me, forgiven me for that cardinal sin. Got it. 5/16. And should smooth as silk, but we're gonna fire her up. Give her some RPMs. Look, Ma, one hand. Oh. You know, I'm fortunate to be paid to do what a lot of people pay to do. Push a sled. Oh, got tricked. Contact. Look at her go, look at her go. We got it with minimal carnage. Please like and subscribe. Check out all my links down in the description. Everything's well organized, easy to find. All right, see everyone on the next one. She had some catching up to do. Check this out. Peeing pretty good. Oh yeah, peeing all night. Wow. Oh. Good girl. Doing her job. Space looks good.